Breaking news at this hour, it is 2 o'clock in the morning, and we have a confirmed statement from President Trump that could change everything for millions of Americans. For the first time, the White House has acknowledged that a $2,000 stimulus check is being prepared as part of what Trump is calling a tariff dividend payment. If you're just waking up or scrolling through your phone trying to figure out what is going on, listen carefully. This update came in quietly, almost hidden inside late-night remarks, and a short press note from the Treasury team. But what really shocked everyone was Trump's direct quote. He said, "The dividend will be paid. Not might be paid. Not if Congress agrees." He said it will be paid. Now, the question everyone is asking is simple. Paid to who? When? And is this actually real, or just another political promise that disappears in the morning? I've spent the past few hours digging into the statements, reading the Treasury briefings, and going through the background chatter coming out of the White House. And the answer is more surprising than anyone expected. Because behind this announcement, there are new documents outlining how this payment could bypass Congress entirely. There are early drafts showing which groups would be first in line. And there's language that directly references the $2,000 figure Trump mentioned during his last public appearance. But before we go deeper, let me be very clear. What you are about to hear in this video is not speculation. These details come straight from White House communications and internal discussions that surfaced over the last few hours. And if you receive Social Security, SSI, SSDI, veteran benefits, or you're a low to middle income worker, you need to pay close attention. This affects you directly. Now comes the biggest twist. The reason this announcement dropped at 2 a.m. isn't random. It's strategic. And once you understand the timing, the language, and the way this was released, you'll understand exactly why the administration doesn't want to wait any longer. Stay with me because what happens next will surprise you. Now, let's break down exactly what this tariff dividend is, why it suddenly matters, and why Trump believes he can send out a $2,000 payment without waiting for Congress. To understand this, you need to know the backstory. For months, Trump has been hinting that tariff revenue collected from overseas imports could be redirected straight to the American people. He first mentioned it casually during a rally, then repeated it in interviews, and finally, he wrote it on Truth Social, where he said, "Americans deserve a dividend from the money being collected." But here's what most people don't know. Tariffs generate billions of dollars every year, and that money normally sits inside Treasury accounts that are used for government operations. According to internal notes from the Office of Management and Budget, Trump's team has been studying whether they can declare these funds as surplus revenue and reclassify them for direct payments. In simple terms, they are looking for a path that cuts Congress out of the equation entirely. And this is where things get interesting. Treasury officials started preparing what they call payment categories. These categories outline which groups would qualify for the first round of dividend checks if Trump gives the order. Two sources say the earliest draft specifically listed seniors on Social Security, Americans on SSI and SSDI, veterans receiving federal benefits, and households with income under a certain threshold. This lines up exactly with the language Trump used in his remarks this week when he said the dividend should go to the people who need it the most and need it immediately. But that's not the only clue. A leaked briefing summary shows that the Social Security Administration and Treasury have already discussed how fast they could match existing beneficiary records with payment files. That tells us one thing. This isn't just political talk. Someone is preparing for the real possibility of sending out money. Now, before you get too excited, there is still a heated debate happening behind the scenes. The Senate's Budget Committee argues that diverting tariff revenue this way might violate federal law. Meanwhile, Trump's advisors counter that presidents have used executive authority before to distribute emergency payments during national crisis, and they say rising food costs, rent spikes, and debt pressures facing seniors absolutely qualify as a national crisis. So what does this mean for you? It means the fight is happening right now, and the outcome determines who gets paid first and how quickly the checks can be issued. And here's the part that shocked even seasoned analysts. In the documents I reviewed tonight, there is one line repeated multiple times. Priority groups will be notified through existing benefit portals. That means seniors checking their Social Security portal, Social Security income and Social Security disability income recipients checking their account, veterans checking va.gov. If that language stays in the final version, it means these groups are at the top of the list. But the most surprising detail is this. A Treasury communication from earlier today noted that the amount being modeled for the first round is listed as payment level $2,000. That's the exact figure Trump has been repeating, so the pieces are starting to align. The tariff revenue, the dividend language, the payment categories, and the timing of tonight's announcement. What all of this actually means for you, your money, and your benefits. Because if this plan moves forward, the impact will be felt immediately by millions of households across the country. Start with seniors. If you receive Social Security retirement benefits, Trump's team has already mapped out a fast-track payment process that connects directly to your existing deposit information. That means no new application, no extra forms, no waiting for mail. The moment Treasury triggers the payment file, the funds could land in the same account where you receive your monthly check. And according to the documents reviewed tonight, this group is expected to be in the first wave. Now let's talk about Americans on SSI and SSDI. These are some of the most financially vulnerable groups in the country, and the internal memos suggest they are considered high-priority impact recipients. That language makes it clear that the administration knows these households are struggling the most with rising grocery prices, medical bills, prescription costs, and rent. And if the dividend payment becomes official, you would be among the very first to receive it. Veterans fall into the same category. VA pension recipients and disabled veterans are listed under what Treasury calls direct federal pays, meaning the government already has verified payment channels for them. In plain English, they can be paid fast with almost no processing delay. But what about workers and families? That's where things get a little more complicated. For low and middle income workers, the plan would likely use IRS records to confirm eligibility. That means your last tax return becomes the key. Based on early modeling, households under a certain income threshold would qualify, and single filers earning below a specific range would also be included. The final numbers haven't been confirmed, but the drafts show a structure very similar to the stimulus payments from 2020 and 2021. And here's the part a lot of people misunderstand. This is not a loan. This is not a tax credit. This is not something you pay back. According to Trump's statement, the dividend is meant to be a share of revenue collected from tariffs. In his own words, it is American money coming back to the American people. Now, how quickly could these checks go out? Listen carefully. If the executive order is finalized the way it's being drafted, the payment could move within weeks. Why? Because Treasury is not building a new system. They are using the same payment channels they already use for Social Security deposits, SSI benefits, VA benefits, and tax refunds. That means the infrastructure is already in place. But here's the truth. Nobody is telling you. The public announcements you see on the surface are only half the story. The real action is happening behind closed doors. The internal calls, the system checks, the line-by-line reviews of how to transfer tariff revenue into a payment account. And that's where we found something surprising. Earlier today, during one of these internal discussions, Trump reportedly said, "The dividend will be paid sooner than people think." That exact line has rattled analysts because it signals urgency, it signals confidence, and it signals that the administration believes they have a legal path to push this through. Millions of Americans are barely getting by right now. Seniors choosing between food and medication. Families behind on rent, disabled Americans struggling to cover monthly bills. That's why this payment, if approved, could provide immediate breathing room. But before you get too excited, there is one catch, one final challenge that could decide everything. Before this becomes official, there is one major hurdle the administration has to clear, and this is the part almost nobody is talking about, the legal review. Right now, attorneys inside the Treasury Department and the Office of Legal Counsel are going line by line through the draft order. Their job is to determine whether tariff revenue can legally be redirected into a direct payment fund without new legislation from Congress. Some say yes, because previous administrations have used emergency economic authority to deliver relief. Others argue no, saying Congress controls federal spending, and this move stretches the limits of executive power. But here's the catch. Trump believes the need for financial relief is so urgent and the tariff revenue so uniquely structured that he can classify the payment as a dividend distribution rather than a stimulus check. If his legal team signs off on that interpretation, the executive order could move forward immediately without waiting for a vote, without waiting for congressional negotiations, and without another government shutdown staring us in the face. So what happens next? Over the next few days, you should expect three things. First, an updated statement from Treasury clarifying how the dividend would be funded. Second, a press briefing from the White House explaining which groups would be included in the first wave. And third, a timeline, whether it's weeks or days, showing when the official announcement will be made. If you receive Social Security, SSI, SSDI, veteran benefits, or you filed taxes in the last 2 years, here's what you need to do. Log into your SSA, IRS, or VA portal and make sure your direct deposit information is correct. These agencies will use the accounts already on file. No one will call you. No one will ask you for your Social Security number, and if anyone does, it's a scam. The government will never text or email you to claim a payment. Here's the bottom line. Trump said the dividend will be paid. Treasury listed a modeling amount of $2,000, and internal memos show the priority groups are already being prepared. All the signs point in one direction. Something big is coming. Now, the only question left is when the final decision drops and when the first payments hit bank accounts. Until then, stay alert, stay informed, and stay prepared. I'll be tracking every update, every leak, and every official statement. The moment something changes, you'll hear it here first. Make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and don't miss the next breaking update. Your future benefits depend on staying one step ahead. Stay safe, stay hopeful, and I'll see you in the next